All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Police 911 and Fire Committee on Wednesday, May 17th. Present today are Councilman Schramm and Councilman Sprinkle, City Attorney Mr. Jensen, Paul Jensen, and City Finance Officer Chandra Phillips. From committee, we also have Chief of Police Mark Dvorak and 911 Supervisor Andrea Potacek. I myself am Jody Brozick, and we have an agenda today. Under the police department, there will be 3 items on the agenda to start with: a resignation, speed enforcement update, community-oriented police efforts around the city of Winter. 911 will address rapid SOS, and from an HR perspective, they have 3 interviews today that I think Andrea will brief us on. The fire department, we have spent money on replacing 2 of the sirens, fire and tornado sirens in Winter, and we'll get an update on that. So Mark, I'm going to turn it over to you. Make sure your mic's on, sir. I want it forward on top. There you go.
All right, first thing, we had a resignation this week of one of our officers. The officer is just going to try something different. It's not like the officer is displeased with the working with the police department. She's going to try something different with her career, but still wants to stay part-time with us and work a couple days a week. And the officer's new career that she will be starting gives her the opportunity to make her own schedule, so it will be a good benefit to us to keep her on as part-time. And if I'm not mistaken, she'll have to go through the application process and interview for a part-time position.
That is great.
So we'll get that done here hopefully this week or next. Then she'll her last day will be the 28th, the end of this pay period. So so we'll be advertising. I already have someone in mind for her open up officer position then. So, but we'll get that underway as far as looking and hiring for another patrol officer position. Next is speed enforcement. Mostly our speed enforcement has been out in the construction zone. Myself personally, I've noticed some decreasing speeds, so that's working. We're really trying to put a lot of officer presence out there as much as we can and still fulfill our other duties for the city and take calls and work on cases. So, and we're spending time in the school zones as well. School will be ending tomorrow, I believe, is the last day. But we'll still be up in the areas as there's still events and summer classes and whatnot in school, and then we'll have the pool opening up soon, so we'll be spending time up there, continuing spending time in the school zone up at the high school and middle school. Community-oriented policing, we've done a few things over the last month and a half. Just this week, officers spent time with Coffee with Cops. Last month, we attended a dance for a local, actually Community Connections. They had their dance where they invite other like businesses, facilities from around the area to come down. They held a dance. I think there was 3 or 4 of us at that dance that had a good time down there with everyone involved. So, and spending more time up at the school trying to make good ends with businesses, schools, things like that, and we'll continue doing that whenever we have the opportunity. So that's all I have for today. Any questions?
Council? Mark, have you started preparing your budget?
That's going to be starting here real soon, so yeah, I've already thought about it.
Okay. Just taking a look at your overall budget so far this year, comfortable with where you're at? Any unforeseens coming up?
Only unforeseen is we had our printer fax machine go down for a while. It's still causing us a little bit of issues, whether that's with the machine itself or with the upgrades down at the law enforcement center. Just started this last few days, so we'll get that figured out. But that may be an added cost to the upcoming budget that I'm gonna be looking at, replacing that machine.
Is that unit one of the units that's under a contract for so many copies and warranty also?
Yep.
So the supplier is aware of that and trying to get it fixed?
They did fix it once. Yep.
And now it's back. Okay.
It's having issues again, whether it's the same issue.
How old is it, Mark?
Excuse me?
How old is it?
Do you remember how long we've had that? It's
Shouldn't
probably
matter if
about
it's under-
5,
if
6
it's under
years old,
maintenance.
somewhere in there.
Well, that's what I'm saying, if
Yeah.
it's getting in an age.
The contract's a little different. Yes, there is a little maintenance that's involved with that contract, but not full-fledged maintenance. They'll come in and they'll replace a drum for us. They'll come in and they'll replace the ink cartridges. They're not cartridges, they're toner, whatever. They'll replace those for us, but if anything major happens, that's not part of the contract.
That's why I was asking how many years we've had it.
Is that the same one that you actually, that's our old one that you guys got, or is this a newer one?
I don't think that came from here. I could be mistaken.
I think
but-
that one's in Lori's office.
Oh, that's right.
Yep.
Either way, it's several years old.
So Mark, I was looking at your budget for salaries. Do we have about the same number of officers as we do dispatchers?
Well, we'll have 11, including myself, full-time. Well, 10, we'll have 10 patrol officers, if I'm correct.
Okay.
Or 9 or 10.
Patrol,
9,
you're 10.
yes.
And we have 10 or 11 or 12 dispatchers?
Yep, we have 10.
Pardon me?
10 full-time spots in dispatch.
Because I see the budgets are within close. I mean, aren't darn near the same cost per employees, yeah.
It's a good observation.
No, it just surprises me that they're so close together. I need to know every time. Jules' pen doesn't work.
Any other wishes for this year?
Well,
As I look at this.
Looking at budget for next year, probably have to, if the trend of hiring, replacing officers continues, the budget for equipment may have to increase because of just, officers or people in general are just, sizes vary so much now compared to in years past where we could reuse equipment. A vest, that is basically almost a fitted item. So, and do you remember how much those cost last time, Justin? I think we're gonna have to order,
With carrier, I think they were like $8,000-9,000 a vest.
Per vest, or-
Yeah, no, per vest.
so $800 to $900, maybe $1,000. So, and I think we're gonna have to order 3, maybe 4, just this summer for new officers. So that'll eat up some of the budget, so we may include some or add some for next year's budget with things like that, or ask for it, I should say.
Budget for it. See what gets appropriated. Other things, this is your first year under this budget. What surprises have you seen, and what would you have corrected a year ago that you'll adjust going forward?
Mostly just that, just the uniform and the amount of money that we have to spend to have our officers well protected and, looking proper with good, good uniforms, pants, boots, whatnot.
Very good.
We didn't get the expense side of the budget, of his budget.
Excuse
That's
me?
all you have there. There's no revenue for the law enforcement, that's all expense, Councilman Frank.
Well, this is the expense?
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, I have expense and, okay. And revenues on the 911, so
Yeah, they're the
that's, okay.
They're the only one that produce revenue.
Yep, very good.
Police department and fire are both under general fund.
Yep,
so that's just
yep, I
miscellaneous.
knew that too, yep.
Good questions.
You asked how many employees were in each department, just for the record, there's 30 volunteer in the fire department too. But their personal services is much.
I wasn't really concerned about how many, I was
I
just noticing how close in salaries, the
Yes.
people that work in 911, and in my brain, I don't know that those particular people get paid the same rate of pay as an officer that's carrying a gun.
We've spent most of this year down 1. Their department spent most of this year down 4.
So there's
Right.
But
other,
I'm still
3 or
looking,
4?
I'm still looking at
Yeah.
budgeted expenses, that's all I'm looking at. Doesn't matter what the history is to me.
police department, if they're more, that would make sense in my head, without having it, maybe I do have it. in-
It's
sorry.
close with police departments, I think about $4,000 more.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
it
the
ain't
reason
very much
being for
more.
that,
It's
police
close.
department has the ability to get more bumps throughout, so they have bumps budgeted in because they can get taser certified, they
Sure,
can get,
sure.
there's multiple things. Andrew's
Overall-
department is not gonna get tasered,
The
certified.
overall budget
It might
of the
get
police
tasered. but-
department is budgeted for around $33,000 more for the police officers than the dispatchers are. Because the original budget, if you're just looking at.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was looking at, was the total for the whole year for the budget,
About 33,000.
that our salaries are darn near the same. And I just wondered how close we were. If our salaries to be a dispatcher were similar or evidently very close to the salaries of being
What
a
is
police
starting
officer.
for
Ours is
non-certified?
2092 and yours is what, 19?
1965?
But once yours are certified, they go to 2052, is that correct?
They go up 5% once they're fully,
Yeah.
well, actually, 7.5% once they're fully
2052,
certified.
and then they're at 2092, I
And
think,
once they're
Pretty close.
certified, they go up to
29.
5%.
Yeah.
40-cent difference.
2098.
Yep, very
So
good.
that's a great observation.
It is.
Well, 911, Andrea. Floor is yours, ma'am.
So last year, we signed up for the Rapid SOS program. We've just kind of been test phase, just to see if it was going to be something useful for us. What Rapid SOS is with our phone system, we pay for mapping software. So anytime we get a 911 call, it gives us location information. The phone equipment communicates that to our mapping software, and it gives us location information for our callers. Everything that comes into us through the phone system is from the cell phone towers. So what Rapid SOS does is they do all of their location based off of satellite. So it's kind of helpful. Sometimes we've got areas that we dispatch for where cell phone coverage is not always the greatest. Still a lot of different terrains and things out there, and sometimes even the weather has a lot to do with it. You know, during the ice storms and stuff that we had this winter, the cell phone towers were definitely affected. So Rapid SOS uses satellite to get a location rather than cell phone towers, so it just gives us another option to try to find where somebody's calling from in the event that they can't tell us. So we're gonna move forward and get it set up, and it's going to just become an everyday addition for everybody. As of right now, just myself and the lieutenant use it. Like I said, just kind of a test thing, but it's worked out for us, especially during the storms and things like that. It was very helpful, so.
Andrea, let me ask you a question, curiosity. It operates through a satellite system. I'm curious, do you see interference or loss of satellite during thunderstorms and things like that?
Well, so far we have not.
Okay.
Like I said, during the snow, when we were using it, it was still, there were times where it was doing better than our cell towers because they were so iced up, that we weren't losing that. And I mean, we have had times where we've had calls come in and we get information off a cell tower and it takes longer for Rapid SOS. So it's definitely going to be in addition to
Sure.
what we're already doing. It's just one more tool to help us find people who don't know where they are.
Sure.
Never a guarantee. That's how we train our people is, we don't rely on our mapping. It's just a tool that we use to help. And, you know, questions and things that we ask the people on the other end to find out where they are. We don't always rely on its accuracy because nothing's guaranteed, but it helps. One nice thing about Rapid SOS also is it will continue to update as the caller moves. So we get a lot of mobile complaints, mobile incidents, things like that. Rapid SOS will continue to update location. So if the person that's calling us can't tell us that we're headed east or west or north or whatever, Rapid SOS will give us an idea because it will show
It'll
different
plot
points.
a course, I'll be darned.
Yeah, so that's nifty. Our mapping that we have that's connected to the 911 system does not update that way, so that's helpful. We added a few more monitors to the desks so that it's something that we always have up and it's always right there and readily available, as opposed to having to flip through different programs to find the one you're looking for. So added a couple extra monitors so that we'll be able to always have that there in front of us, and I think it's definitely going to be helpful in different situations. So
And you wanna talk about how much that cost us?
that does not cost us anything.
Really?
Yeah, no, that's
Let's
a free
get some more.
Yeah, that's a free
Wrap
program.
that whole pod in
Yeah.
monitors.
No
Yeah.
kidding.
Yeah, so, yeah, it's very good. There's different layers and things that we have not yet looked into. I think that's where you start getting into the additional cost and things where they'll start giving you, I think it'll give us carrier information, but we can pay to get customer information and things like that. I can't remember, there was another one where they would set it up where it would communicate with our CAD system. That's, as far as I'm concerned, that's not something that we're interested in. It's something that we've tried in the past, having our mapping software communicate with our CAD, and it doesn't fill things in the way that we want it to, so we have to go back in and change them all anyways. So things like that, I think, are added expense through Rapid SOS, but nothing that we've found that we need right now anyways. So yeah, other than that, we have interviews scheduled for today. We're interviewing for a lieutenant position today, a part-time position today, and a full-time position today. So hopefully we can start getting some spots filled.
Are lieutenants coming from the ranks?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Lieutenant was advertised as internal. That's one of the requirements. They have to be certified, so.
Okay. And you're short just that many?
We have
One
four-
part-time
we
and
have-
one full-time opening?
We have 4 open full-time and 2 part-time open.
Oh, my.
currently.
You really are hurting. Wow.
One at a time.
That's 4 out of 10?
Yes, sir.
Stuff.
We're in a battle for employees. I can't remember if we mentioned this in the meeting we had in April, and I apologize for missing last week. But one thing we learned in our training in Deadwood, the Police Chiefs and Sheriff's Office Association training in Deadwood last month in April was currently, well, in April, there were 11,000 people actively looking for jobs in South Dakota. So that's the amount of people throughout the state of South Dakota that we have an opportunity to get. So it's a pretty slim pool.
And only 11,000 in all fields, not
All fields.
11,000 cops looking for work.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's why everyone's having a hard time finding employees and, with that supply and demand, other businesses, whether that's on the civil side or on the general public or in government side, everyone's increasing their wages, trying to attract people. So
And how short are you in your
I'll
department?
just be one short.
One. We don't need to talk to you then.
You already went through that.
Yeah.
Let's keep
4
it
out of
that
10
way.
short is awful.
Part of this is a national crisis too, is you're
really
seeing
is.
so many of the baby boomers that are now of retirement age. Some of them have extended their employment years, they've extended their careers longer, but realistically, this was on the horizon 10
Yep.
years ago, and it's here full board.
Sure. Yep.
And we talk about being competitive. Councilman Schramm, you talked about in committees, this is Winter South Dakota, and we've got to sell our assets to people and who we are in the community and the vision, in addition to wages. And yeah, we are in a battle. We have to be actively recruiting.
Having a good wrestling team and football team, that's not really,
Not
that's
enough.
not really all of it.
Well, no, but when you look at the community, years ago, there's 7 pillars to a strong community, and Winter checks off a lot of those. When you look at our hospital, our school, our business district, our police force is part of that. We check off a lot of the good things. I think we've continually talked about housing. And that's one of the pillars that we miss bad.
Yeah.
And we're gonna have to address that to become competitive, so people can come in and have a house, or some are trying to bring a family. We've talked about the pool of people here in the area, specifically Winter, and people are transient. We went through a lot of employees, and that pool is even extended out to Tripp County and counties around us. It's getting smaller and smaller. It's a battle. Sharpen your skills, sales skills.
Mark, I have a question from the HR side. Of those 11,000 people that are actively looking, did they discuss how many of those are even eligible for law enforcement?
No. I believe I remember correctly, that was with someone with Department of Labor came in and spoke. So just general numbers, those are the people actually looking.
Wow.
There's who knows how many people. I think they said, I want to say 19,000 people that have been employed or are no longer employed, or had been looking at one time, and that 19,000 has shrunk to 11,000 actively looking as of April. Another issue, and this didn't come from Department of Labor, but from another source, and I don't remember where I read it or heard it, podcast maybe of some sort, but in general, throughout the nation, people no longer are looking or having that second job since COVID has came and gone. They've learned during the COVID times or years that they can get by without that extra income from their second job, so they're not going back and looking for that second job, and that's hurt the job pool. Where before you could hire a couple part-time people, you no longer have those people, so just hiring maybe one full-time person to fill that void, and that takes away from your general full-time pool of employees.
Or those that are still doing the second job are doing it online? There's a lot of online opportunities where you can sit at home and work a second job. That's becoming quite a bit of what we're seeing on our side too.
Hard to catch a speeder from home.
Right. I would say, and maybe I'm incorrect on this, of that 11,000, I'd say maybe a third to a quarter of those people wouldn't even be eligible for law enforcement.
Well, I think
because
that's-
they've been in jail, they've had a felony, they've
think
got
that's accurate.
a list of
Yeah.
things, so now cut that and,
It's probably a higher percentage than that even.
yeah, I was trying to be
That was
semi-generous.
actually the next speaker that came up, I think, right after the Department of Labor was the Hank Prim from DCI, who now kind of runs the LET portion up there, and his whole spiel was background checks and really hiring the right people, because you can't just hire. And he used that example, you can't just hire because you're friends with somebody and they got a nephew that needs a job. He said those days are long past. He said now you have to do your background checks, you have to make sure that they are of integral moral character. And we saw some of that with some of our applicants that we had. Once we started doing the background check, they were disqualified. We couldn't hire them.
It's so tight in California, they're passing legislation that you don't even have to be a United States citizen to be a police officer in California.
I don't know why that would have been a requirement anyway. I didn't know that was,
Oh, 100%.
One of the
Well,
things-
used to be, always used to be.
Still is in South.
are we that way?
Still
Yes.
is here, oh yeah.
How can you ask someone to enforce the state and federal laws if they aren't technically a citizen of that state and federal law themselves?
You can't. They won't.
They went to 11 court, a lot of them, but they're trying to find a remedy, and that's one of their remedies. And I
Yeah, but
don't
look at
think
this.
it's-
Yeah, I wouldn't know, I guess I wouldn't know, I think of Bob Brooke, who was a Canadian. So he couldn't have been a cop, huh?
If he was a citizen here, if he had dual
No.
citizenship.
Oh, now that I don't know, but,
You can have dual citizenship, but you have to be a United States citizen.
okay,
Be an
I
officer.
wouldn't have
Bob
known
was.
that. I would not have known that at all. Huh.
Because as a Canadian citizen, you have to return for so long a period to Canada to keep your citizenship.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know that either.
And the reason I know is because of Pete Greger.
Looking at your expense budget for 911, you're well within line for this time of year. Anything unexpected that council needs to be aware of, or is it rolling off kind of as you'd hoped during your budget process last year?
Yeah, nothing unforeseen at this point in time.
So I haven't been in this committee for a long time, but is all your computer work done?
Close.
I mean, we always had Direct Tech or whoever
Are you
always
talking
had.
about like the camera project that Direct Tech's in there doing now,
Your
or?
upgrade to your office.
All your upgrades are,
Our
are all-
computer stuff is done, yes. We don't have any projects right now that are
Okay.
open in dispatch.
oh, that was in the jail probably with the other
The
stuff.
jail's doing the
Okay.
cameras and doors
All
and
right,
stuff
sorry,
right now.
sorry, yep.
And we did just, I guess the server, which kind of affected everybody at the law enforcement center. And they did just get us migrated over to the new server, so we're just tying up some loose ends there. But for the most part, that's finished as well.
Was it last year you got all of your new desks and all of that?
Yep, all the new desks, and this year we were planning to replace CAD computers, I think is what we budgeted for. And we ended up having to do the camera computers because our camera computers were old enough to the point they didn't like the new camera software that we're getting, so we did that instead, and we'll hold off on the CAD ones. They're still well within their life expectancy, so.
We'll see that next year in the budget, or this fall, or this summer,
Yeah,
2 weeks.
potentially.
next week. On the revenue side, this is kind of between you and Chandra. That is below expectation or percentage of the year. Any concerns?
That's actually normal.
That's normal.
Because half of your revenues actually come from a transfer in. So if they're hitting half of what you normally would be this time of year, I think that's perfectly normal. So you're at 33% of the year, they're at 15% for their revenues. That's absolutely within reason on that side. Everyone seems to be fairly well in line. The biggest one that's down is Lyman County. But with our new billing software, we're able to send out those admin fees, and then those went up this year, and so we're able to get those out right away. I think we just received our last one a couple weeks ago, maybe, so.
And like we talked about last time, there was some failure to communicate with the auditor's offices in some of our counties that led to them underpaying. So I'm not sure if we're caught up on that yet or not. I know one of the counties that I spoke to, they were planning on sending the
Difference.
sending the difference along with the amount for that month.
And when that happens, before it was kind of a, hopefully we're remembering it. Now if we see that there's a difference in it, we can actually submit a real bill that gets kept track of throughout the years, throughout the months. So if we have a statement that's net 30 because they didn't pay that back, Brandy sends them a statement and says, you have to get this submitted to us within 30 days or further action will be taken. So before that, we didn't really have a whole lot of anything to go off of without having a real billing software for this type of stuff.
Very good. Andrea, anything else?
I don't believe so.
At one time, were we not in conversations with another county to come into our 911 system? And what's the status of that?
They re-signed their contract with another PSAP.
Okay,
And the cost of moving was not beneficial to them, the cost of making the move. They had a couple of people from their agencies, responder-wise, that wanted the move and were pushing for it. And then when it came down to the ultimate decision, the people that make that decision didn't see the need for it.
so let me ask the obvious question. What was the cost to them to move from their current PSAP to us? Are we talking $20,000?
Dollar amount, I don't remember, because that was probably a couple of years ago that we had those conversations.
Okay,
The biggest thing with the county we were talking with was the upgrades they were going to have to do to be able to communicate with us,
Radio upgrades.
radio-wise and stuff. Now that the state has pushed through their radio update, it's possible that they've had to make those changes anyways. They kind of live down in a bowl, and so radio communication has always been an issue for them.
Good.
And they had things worked out with the county that they contract with to make what they had work. And
so my next, I have kind of a series of questions here. So my next question is, do we have the staff to handle another county in 911 emergency services?
If we're full staff.
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
when we are full staffed, yes.
Okay.
We would be able to, and that was one of the things when we were talking about other counties to pick up. We definitely looked at which counties we would be able to handle without increasing staff.
Because I think that's
In terms of volume.
that's a very important question, because if we have to add 4 more people to get 1 more county,
Yeah,
we're silly trying to get another county. And
Correct.
that's why I'm
correct.
doing this line of questions, because if we're talking about a $15,000 to $20,000 radio upgrade or whatever it is that this potential county was reluctant to spend, maybe that's an incentive that we need to think about if we don't have additional costs in operations labor-wise.
And we did talk about potentially discounting services for the first couple of years if they signed like an X
Yep.
number of year contract, discounting services for the first couple of years to help try to counterbalance some of
Yep,
those
yep,
expenses that
yep.
they would have.
Good idea.
But in the end,
Good.
they,
But I would be a bit concerned that if adding another county requires another 2 to 3 bodies,
yeah.
I'm not sure that we're in a position to add another county.
For sure.
Yeah.
The counties, well, the ones specifically that we were talking to,
Yep.
we could handle that volume. Yeah, that was one of the concerns that they had also, was that we would be able to handle everything that they do. And so they sent us over call numbers and things like that. And it's very similar to what we do already in terms of volume, what they do on a daily, monthly basis. It was very similar to what we already handle. Now, that being said, there are surrounding counties that we would not be able to take on without having to have
Because of their
additional
call
staff.
volume. Yeah, I understand that, yep. Yeah, there's got to be a limit, you know.
Yeah.
Just like there's a limit to how many available people there are to go to work, either in our police or 911 or even our jail. You know, there's only so many people live within working distance of Winter, you know. Okay, glad you're thinking that way.
Andrea, the surcharges, I see quite a variance in them. Is it because of the population size or the call numbers, or is that how it's?
It's population size. So the way our contracts are billed is now I'm gonna have to remember, I think we are at $1.
26.
Or 22.
I was thinking 24. We're in the middle.
You take the middle.
Okay. And it's per phone line in the county. So that's for landline phones and cell phones. The problem that we end up seeing, and there's been conversations with people on the state level, is the way that those the cell phone monies get distributed. It's population based, and so
As
they're.
far as landlines and cell phones,
Exactly.
there's no
Exactly.
comparison anymore as far as the
Landlines are
numbers.
going away, and the state decides who gets the cell phone money, because it all goes to the state and then gets distributed from there. So we've talked about potentially changing those things, the way it's distributed. Of course, the unfortunate thing is the biggest counties in the state don't want to see those changes happen, and they are the loudest ones. They have the most pull. We've talked about raising the 911 charge on your cell phone bill. There are some states that charge as much as, $4 for a month for your 911 usage.
High enough.
South Dakota's not even close to that.
No.
We're like
And-
75 cents, aren't we?
I think it's 85,
85,
Yeah, it's nothing.
yeah.
And then they take that money, and then the state keeps a good portion of it, and then hands out the rest based on what they feel is need or population size. So yeah, the differences that you see there is because of population.
What's it for the landline ones?
The same.
It's the
Same price?
Yeah. I think part of the problem, though, like, because of where I have my cell phone, my 85 cents doesn't come, I don't think, to Tripp County. It goes to Coleman,
Could be.
the county that Coleman is in.
And that's why the state collects all of the cell phone money and distributes it based on population and things like that.
On my home address rather than where I'm
Yes.
getting my service from.
It's mostly a numbers type situation.
Okay.
It's population based, but obviously then they have to take into account that my 2 children count as population and they don't have cell phones. So The bigger counties get the majority of the money and the rest of us don't.
Sure, because they have more expense, yeah.
Yeah.
Another thing, Ron, is, because he's new here, so I'm sorry if I cut into this, but your phones that you pick up from your dollar stores, your
Burner
burners,
phones?
what Mark
Burner
might
phones?
call a burner phone, those do not have those charges on it. So
Oh,
anyone
really?
who has a
They
burner
don't
phone
have to
is
pay
not
that
paying that
charge.
charge,
That's right.
because they don't have a monthly contract. And there are a lot of those in our area.
I was gonna say,
And some
there's
of these
tons of
counties
them.
that we service.
Those are the ones the drug dealers use.
We
You
didn't
have
say
one of
that.
those?
Drug dealers and contractors.
You got two of them, right, Mark?
Anything else for Andrea, council? Fire department, do you want to give us an update on this?
Just the sirens, I have that. And the email here says, we're looking to mobilize and complete these sirens next week. Can we get a signed copy of this order and the official purchase requisition? So, I brought that down for you two to look at, and then I'll have Darren get the PO up to them and
I haven't
then.
seen it. The last one I had
Oh,
still
sorry.
had, the 2 mobilization costs on it.
Yep, no, final price is $40,608. So, I have everything.
40
$40,000
to fix 2 sirens?
to put in, replace.
Holy Christ.
What was the quote originally, 41?
Don't we have any more duct
It
tape?
was around 41.
Stop it, councilman.
Well, I heard
Actually,
Jeremy
looking
say we
at
could
that-
fix it with duct tape and a.
Alien wire.
Looking at that, Brad, it's, we did a, it'll cost $50,000 in duct tape, so.
Very good, as long
Yes,
as, long
so-
as we got
Yeah,
another,
yeah.
got another quote.
We looked into it. I'm just kidding.
I know, and so am I. You guys take everything so
I
damn
know.
serious.
The low boy was originally quoted, you don't pass it, sir. Yes.
Wasn't it 41,000 something?
It's just under, now it's like 40,600 and some.
We'll test my memory, I believe it was $41,018.
Yeah.
It was.
I think you're.
Was it?
That sounds like you're right on the money, yeah.
Lucky guess.
I
2
missed 18.
sirens,
Not the
holy
numbers I
cow.
choose to memorize.
People winter, I'll be happy.
I don't
Yeah.
choose to memorize any number, but you stick in my mind.
So you'll need to sign right there.
No, like I said, if you got a tornado going over top, and the
That
sirens don't
siren
go
ain't gonna
off.
make any difference, yep. It's not gonna stop the tornado.
Hopefully it's blowing before that tornado hits it, though, and gets people inside before the,
Let's hope we don't have any.
yes.
This year's out to a scary start,
Yeah, if you live far enough south where the cold and the hot are mixing.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that'll conclude today's Police 911 and Fire Committee meeting. We'll be back tomorrow. Tomorrow we will have the electrical committee utility. So, thank you all for coming.